Welcome to WrestleShadow. Today on the show, we have someone special. It is one and only Santino Marella. He has been in WWE. Currently, he is the director of authority at TNA, and we have a lot to talk about. So let's get the ball rolling. Hello, Santino. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So, right off the bat, I want to talk about your debut. You've been in the business for such a long time, right? But that day, which was completely unexpected for all of us watching at home, you come in, win the Intercontinental Championship, and it's a stunning moment. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I was in developmental at OVW, and just trying to learn and become the best I could, and basically waiting for an opportunity, and that fateful day, the opportunity came, and I received a phone call asking if I could speak Italian, and of course I said yes, and I said some things in Italian, and they said, "Okay, great. Vince has an idea for a character to come out of the audience in Italy." So they said, we're going to send you your passport. You're going to fly to Italy tomorrow, and you might debut. So I was like, I couldn't believe it was real. It was really happening, but I was prepared for it. That was the goal. That's the reason I was training. So I was, I wasn't scared, but a little nervous for sure.
All right. And how did this conversation happen? Like, what was it like meeting Vince McMahon, the most imposing figure in WWE?
Yeah, I mean, behind the scenes, he's very respectful and really nice. And when I came in the office, he turned around and put his phone down, put his glasses down, gave me his undivided attention. And I just thought it was really classy the way he lets you know that you know you have all his attention right now, and it's very respectful, actually.
Yeah. And speaking of Vince McMahon, we saw a lot of moments when you were there alongside him, also with the likes of Donald Trump, Snoop Dogg. So, how was it sharing the stage with people like them, and how different were these personalities?
Um, well, there's things that everybody has in common with celebrities of that level. They're generally very hardworking. They're not lazy. They're willing to do it over and over again until you got it right. They're all generally nice people, because if you're not a nice person, the odds are you're not going to go very far, because it's really, I mean, there's talented actors and actresses everywhere, but why do some people make it and some people don't? And one of the reasons is they're really good at working well with other people. Um, you know, because a casting director has to like you, or a professional wrestling booker just has to like you themselves. So you have to know how to be a likable person. Hopefully you are naturally, but even if you're not, you you have to learn how to pretend to be likable. So everybody had a really good personality. Everybody was really easygoing, easy to work with, but also you could tell that they have discipline, And it was really cool for me because I was able to see that, oh, okay, skill level wise and entertainment value wise, I'm on the same level as these people, even though they're very famous, and they they're very respectful of your work as well. They really they're very complimentary. It was excellent. It was really good meeting so many famous people, just for learning a little bit from each of them, for networking, for confidence. It was really a really good opportunity for me.
Yeah, and you talked about the discipline, but of course, when you are involved, there has to be a funny side to it. There has to be a giggle here and there. I want to talk about Snoop Dogg, especially off screen when you guys were coming up with the idea of how to put this together. Was there any funny interaction? Did he crack up at your accent?
Um, no, that's the thing. You'd be surprised. He was actually like, I remember one time we met in New York to do some pre-tapes, and he's all about business. When it's time to work, he's there to work. he has a great sense of humor, and he's just easy to be around. But when there's a job to be done, he's very focused.
Absolutely. And speaking of focused, you were pretty focused when it came to getting the job done. Like right now, as I speak to you, I cannot believe that it is the same person I have seen on screen playing this wonderful character, bringing a cobra to life, which you generally most of the population would be scared of. You made it fun and lovable. So how did that come out? Like something like a cobra comes in and you make it the most over thing in professional wrestling.
The Cobra to me is still like almost a mystery. I was in Japan and somebody showed me this Cobra, this little funny thing he would do with his arm, like make it into a puppet. And years later, like 5 years later, I just remembered it and I incorporated it into one of my matches and used it in the finish. And the people were laughing right away, even before they saw it on TV. So we kind of knew that we had something good. And then I think I did it for a year or two before we introduced the sleeve, the snake sleeve, and then it took on it went to the next level. But I remember being surprised, to be honest, about how quickly it spread, and then the people really loved to see when I did the Cobra. Universally, it was pretty exciting. Like, I mean, arenas would cheer, and I remember being like shocked, like, really, you like it that much? But and the old timers, they love the fact that it's something I can do for forever. I can do that to anybody, and even when I'm an old man, I can still do it.
Absolutely, you can. And how was this process like? How did Vince react to it? How did the backstage, creative process involve? This. Did you just go up to them and tell them, or they knew that you were already doing this, and they were like, okay, let's continue this.
Yeah, no. So I would do it only on the live events, not on TV, because in the live events you have more creative freedom, you have more time, you can really tell a fuller story. So I would use it on the weekends, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I go to Raw and do something else. So one day I went to Raw and Rick Steamboat came up to me and he said, "It's going to be you and Zack Ryder. You're going to have a match on Heat. Vince wants because you're going to win with the Cobra. Vince wants to see the Cobra." And I'm like, I didn't even know Vince knew about Cobra. And so the producers, when you have a live event, the producers have to write a report about the show. How did it go? Good things, bad things, and Vince reads the reports. So when I heard he wanted to see the Cobra, I was shocked. And then I remember Ricky Steamboat saying he reads the reports. He does read them. So and that was it. I did it that night, and I think within like 3 weeks it caught on, and it was a phenomenon.
Absolutely, it is a phenomenon, and we will always remember you making the cobra one of the most funniest things on the planet when everyone is scared. But speaking of puppets, there is somebody in AAA who's using an iguana, Mr. Iguana. What do you have to say about that? Because uh, this is a new generation and this is another animal.
Yeah, he's great actually. He's a really good wrestler, very funny, very athletic, and I wrestled against him last year, and we had a great match, a very fun match. He's just a fun guy, to be around. So I wish him success moving forward, and who knows, maybe we'll work together again. Maybe we'll be a tag team. He's a really nice guy. He sent my son Ieska, the iguana. He sent him one in the mail, which I thought was really nice of him.
Oh, that's really nice. We would definitely like to see that tag team, but now it's a nice segue for me as well. Speaking of tag teams, we have to talk about Vladimir Kozlov.
Yeah.
Mr. Kozlov, the Russian, the absolute guy who doesn't break, and then it's you come in and change the game altogether. How did that come about?
Oh, actually, so back in OVW, I was playing a Russian character. And when Vladimir Kozlov got hired and came to OVW, we were working together as the Russians. And I was a Russian character on Friday. And then I flew to Italy Saturday. And I arrived on Sunday. And I debuted on Monday. So right up until I became Santino, I was Boris. So we had a relationship. We were friends. And sometimes there's peaks and valleys. You'll have a big storyline, then maybe nothing for a few months, and then another featured storyline. So I knew I was kind of, you know, in a bit of a valley, so to speak, and that's when you have to get creative, and that's when you have to pitch some ideas instead of waiting for the writers to come up with something for you. You could pitch ideas. So I pitched Vladimir Kozlov and myself, and they tested it out. They tested out our dynamics between us, and they liked it. So yeah, they put us together.
Yeah, they put you guys together, and I still remember the dance off.
Yeah.
Is that something that you came up with, or it was something that that just moved on along the way creatively behind the scenes?
Well, that was one of the things they just did, but it was he did it. He won the dance off, if you remember. He won it because he was like
Yeah.
he was prepared. I didn't think he was going to be as prepared. Um, but I was a big baby face at the time, so, and he was. But for him to win the dance off was awesome. Really kind of set us in motion as a team.
Absolutely, it did. And speaking of your character, it was completely unique. At a time when you had so many top guys, you have to stand out. So, what was going on, mentally, that that you're going to have some limited opportunities, seeing all the big guys there? So, how did you look at it when you had your opportunities, and when they didn't come by, like you said some time back, you came up with ideas? So what was that
Yeah,
process completely for you?
I actually remember reading an article written by Lance Storm where he was talking about me, doing the comedy thing, and he said that sometimes comedy guys are not going to be in the hunt for the title, but a comedy role has longevity. Every show needs comedy. You need comic relief between two serious storylines. You need something to lighten it up, and just like when you eat sushi, you need the ginger between some of the bites. And there was nobody really challenging me at the time for that comedy role. So I held it down for 10 years, and I didn't train to be a comedic wrestler, but the job was there and the opportunity was there, and um, you know I know it's an honor and a privilege to be there. So I was very grateful of the opportunity to assume that role.
Yeah, and when you're in a role like this, I want to know the mental side of things, because like looking at your personality right now, you're so into mixed martial arts as well. So this is completely like a 180-degree
Yeah,
opposite of what you actually do and what you are actually training for. So how do you put that into perspective?
yeah. Well, I grew up in a place where there was everybody's parents were immigrants, and so a lot of our parents had accents, and they had English was not their first language, and when they would say expressions, they would say it incorrectly, and they would say it in a funny way. So I had lots of material growing up around me. My entire street, my neighbors were Greek and Croatian and Korean and Italian and Portuguese, and yeah, so I had basically Santinos all around me growing up, and sometimes some of the stuff I say on TV is actually little tributes to my friends and their parents and the way they said things, and I yeah, I had an abundance of material growing up.
Absolutely, and that material shaped you into who you are and that iconic character. And speaking of material, uh, we hear a lot of diss raps today, but you gave us a diss rap and you targeted Akon. So, what was the backstory there? Who pitched it, and did you ever hear back from Akon?
No, that was written by Brian Gewirtz. Santino was a little bit rude at the time, and he that was when I just started calling people by the wrong name. So that was all Brian Gewirtz, and it's a memorable rap, and it went because Akon is a big celebrity and singer. So you know I don't know if it technically went viral, but a lot of people have seen the clip. So I don't think anybody told him though that my character messes up people's names on all the time. So I think it was like not necessarily insulted, but kind of like he was confused probably.
Absolutely, you put people in difficult situations sometimes with your pronunciations, definitely. So, I want to talk about the moment with Beth Phoenix. The glam is on, and then Santino comes in again. Once again, a dynamic nobody expected, and you guys just knock it out of the park way before I feel the women's evolution and men and women together wrestling was even a thing
Yeah, I
in
mean,
WWE.
we had intergender matches back then. I remember I wrestled Beth, I wrestled Mickey James, I wrestled Maria, and it was like seems like it was another time, because you can't do that anymore. But I knew Beth also from OVW, and she's an amazing person, very brilliant and hardworking and kind and very nice. So I knew how good she was, and she was kind of in between storyline as well. So she actually pitched the idea to Vince first, and then she pitched it to me and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I think it'd be great. I think because when you have someone who's outgoing and loud and comedic, you need that straight person. That's why Kozlov was that similar role, and Beth also was very straight faced, very serious. So they complement each other.
Absolutely, they do. And one thing that stood out for you, Phoenix, that that still stays. Is there something like that?
With Beth,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, I know that sometimes it's in the women's division there could be stress because there wasn't a lot of back then. There was only maybe one, maybe two matches, women's matches on TV, so it was a high stress environment. But when we were doing our storyline together, I think she really enjoyed it because she wasn't involved in that stressful environment. All the girls fighting for one or two spots. So I think she was really grateful, and she looks back fondly on those times because it was fun. It was just actually really fun.
Yeah, and speaking of fun, you also, in a way, entered the women's division when that alter ego came in, Santina Marella. So, what was that like?
Well, it was supposed to be one day, we were. It was just supposed to be for Mania, but Vince was laughing so hard that she lasted for like 3 months. But unfortunately, it was a lot of makeup, and I learned that girls got to go through a lot of preparation to get ready. Makeup takes a long time. Um, but it was a challenge. I had to some of my best work with regards because there was layers. I speak like this, and then I had to have an accent. Then I had to play a character playing another character, and yeah, so it was a challenge. But I look forward. It was a good challenge. I think it was some of my best work.
Absolutely, it was. So, did you rehearse this behind the scenes on your own, or did you rehearse with others? before actually going out and doing your stuff with as Santina?
Yeah, no, I think once you got the voice down and once you got the character down, you can rehearse it, but when you're doing it live in the moment, it's going to be a little bit different anyway, you know. But yeah, there was definitely some funny pre-tapes.
Can you share some memories? Do you have anything, any recollections of those that we
Yeah,
haven't
well,
seen?
there's one where with Vicky Guerrero and Chavo and Rosa Mendez and Beth backstage where they were trying to tempt me to expose that I was a man by having Rosa try and kiss me, and it was just funny because Santina declared that she was a lesbian, and that's why she was attracted to women in that thing. So it's another example of something you probably couldn't do at this time, but um, back then it was still allowed to be considered funny.
So this was all going on air, uh, all because Vince loved it one night.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I believe it was supposed to be one night only, but it was too funny, so we had 3 months of it. I think she was only here for 3 months, and then she was fired by Donald Trump.
Oh yes, I have to ask about Mr. Trump. Uh, when that moment actually happened, but of course you must have gone through it behind the scenes backstage. Uh, did you guys improvise in any way? Did you improvise as Santina, or it was completely tight?
No, it was super loose because uh, Mr. Trump, President Trump, was he's not my president, but he's a president. He was busy, right? So as we were prepared backstage, we were waiting for him. So he showed up, and someone gave him just like the gist of it. This is what we're doing. You come here, you tell Vince this and this and that. And he comes in, you fire him, and he goes, "Okay, I got it." And then he did it like 2 takes, and he was off to the next thing. So someone who operates at that level, I saw a little glimpse of what goes on in someone like the in the mind of someone like that. So yeah, I didn't know what he was going to say, so I just had to respond and try and guide the pre-tape towards where we needed it to go.
So what were the original plans? You said you wanted it to go that way.
No, I mean like he was supposed to fire me, and the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like if he went off, I would be able to keep him where we need to go. But he was fine. He was really good.
Absolutely, he was good game. Now, speaking of celebrity interactions, that has evolved in professional wrestling, I think. Made be in TNA, wherein we've seen some people from NFL become a part, or in WWE. But now there are a few names that have stood out. Recently, one of them performed at the NFL Super Bowl. Bad Bunny. Did you hear that performance by any chance?
No.
All right, all right. But there are some rumblings that he may want to, get back into the squared circle. So, as director of authority, would you want to extend uh, an invitation to TNA?
Oh, of course he can come to TNA. That would be a lot of eyes on the company, on the product, and you, you want wrestling to become mainstream, and you want it to be something that like it was when I was a kid. Everybody knew Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Jimmy Hart, like Roddy Piper. Every kid knew those guys. And I don't know if every kid in school knows our roster now, but I would like to get to that level.
Absolutely, I remember those days when we used to play with the cards here in India, and you know, wrestling used to be on tape delay, a week's delay.
Oh,
Uh, Yeah, yeah. So coming back to your career, we talked about Santina, but I want to talk about how you have evolved now. you were Santino, you played that role for a brief while as Santina, and now you are the director of authority. Of course, you've got the same charm, but you've got added responsibilities. So, how is this different with something that you've been doing for the past 20 years?
Yeah, no, it's definitely less physical. You know, the travel is equally demanding because I'm still traveling around. But the travel is probably the hardest part, to be honest. You know, sitting for so long, waiting, hotels, rental cars, backstage at the arena. So, for example, let's say you fly out for TV. You fly out on a Wednesday, live TV on a Thursday. You fly home on a Friday. That's almost 3 days, and you might work for 10 minutes. So, like, there's a lot of traveling and having to get there in preparation for 10 minutes. So that's why it's really mostly traveling, right? So that part's the same. But then I don't have to go out there and have those grueling matches anymore. I'm saving my body for significant or special moments instead of having matches every week.
Yeah, so any significant special moments you have planned for 2026?
Nothing planned. I'd love to do another blood sport match. I'd love to have another NXT match. I'd like to have another TNA match and maybe an NWA match. If they allow me to go to MLP, I'd like to have a match there. Just, one here, one there. That way I could train for them accordingly, like make it a special event. Like if you watch MMA, they might fight twice a year or 3 times a year. So you have to train for each event. So I'd like to do it that way where I'm focusing for one specific event.
Nice. That would be interesting, and we would want to see you, more often. But I understand what you are trying to say here. Of course, it's you want to keep your body ready for the special moments. Speaking of
Right.
special moments, uh, as director of authority, now I'm just planting this idea in your head. There is one guy who has retired recently. His name is AJ Styles. Would you want to bring him back home?
Oh man, that would be amazing. And I know TNA has a special place in his heart because that's where he came from and started and debuted and grew and became a household name. So maybe we can see him around a little more. That would be awesome.
Yeah, because the last appearance, it was this close, but then he didn't get in the ring. So, would you want one of your special moments to be against AJ Styles?
Oh man, I don't want to hold him back. He's he's too incredible. I don't know if I can keep up with a guy like that.
Oh no, no, no! Come on, you're
Wow.
you're just being humble right now.
Well, if it makes sense.
Absolutely, I think you guys can come up with something if it has to happen. But coming to a creative process, for someone like you, now that you are on the other side, how different is the creative process? Are you also involved with other wrestlers? Are you helping them with their grooming behind the scenes?
Sometimes if I see a little technical mistake or something like after a match, I'll definitely you know give my thoughts. But I'm not involved in the creative. We have writers, and they do a fantastic job. I was producing pre-tapes, matches, pre-taped and live. It's fun and it's exciting, but I'm kind of on screen a little too much right now to be able to do both. So I'll do as much on screen as I can right now, and then when I'm no longer kind of on screen, I'd love to go and produce and coach and contribute to the future.
Absolutely. And you've seen the creative side on both, spectrums, maybe WWE, now TNA. Of course, you're not involved in the creative, but you're seeing the process. How different is TNA's process now? Because we have seen how much they have grown. It's leaps and bounds, and now there is a lot of chatter back like the good old days.
Yeah, so when I was in WWE, I didn't go to the production meetings. I would just show up at the talent call time. A producer would come to me and say, "This, I got you tonight. Your segment. You're doing this." But now with TNA, I go sit in the production meetings. So I've actually learned more about the creative process since being in TNA, and it's made me much more well rounded with regards to what I can contribute and give back to the pro wrestling industry.
Absolutely. And I think you're giving back to the industry in the best way possible. Uh, I want to talk about your family now. Of course, you have been there in the business for about 2 decades. Now, your daughter is also in professional wrestling. What was that first conversation like when she came up to you and said that I'm getting in?
Well, no, I said it first because she finished university. She has a degree in biology. And then, what do you do? What's next? Okay, graduated. What's next? And I said, do you want to do this? Because it's pretty damn fun. You get to travel the world and entertain and obviously get paid for it. And she just thought that she wouldn't be able, like physically, she kind of thought everybody was a superstar, world class athlete. And I'm like, no, you don't have to be like not everybody is Sol Roca. She's a incredible athlete, but just from observing her as a child and as an athlete, she was an athlete and she did boxing and field hockey and swimming. And I said, you have enough athleticism, you can do it. So once she believed in herself and became the hardest worker in the room, then she excelled and she still has a great work ethic. And I think the future is going to be pretty fun for her the next several years. I think it's going to be fun to watch as a father and for her to have her time.
Absolutely. And I think that time is coming soon. Uh, with the women's division just growing and women's professional wrestling in general becoming so big now, I think just the bigger, it's just time for bigger stars to be made now. And we we see that fun side in her. We will see a spectrum in a long career, definitely. But want to talk about that moment. I think there was a brief moment when you and her shared moment on screen. So how was that like?
Yeah, so lately we've been working together quite a bit, right? Really, but the first time was really cool. Just even the first pre-tape we did was kind of historic for first father daughter. Actually, when we had our tag team match, that was the even more historic. First father daughter to have in a major North American company to have. There's a father daughter combo in Mexico, but in like United States and Canada and stuff. So no, it was cool, man. I knew it would happen one day. I didn't know that it would happen this fast. And if it wasn't for the relationship between NXT and TNA, it's never would have happened. So that relationship really helped me a lot personally.
Yeah, yeah. And we must talk about the NXT TNA relationship. Uh, what do you think has been that biggest factor that has helped TNA and also for NXT with this partnership?
Yeah. So for a lot of the NXT athletes, they they if they were homegrown and developed in NXT, that they don't have any other experience in any other wrestling companies. They didn't come from the indies. They haven't worked anywhere else. They started day one in NXT. So for some of them, it's really healthy and really good to come to TNA and say, "Oh wow, this is a totally different system or different people, different atmosphere." So it's an excellent learning process for them. And also, they're wrestling. The roster in TNA is not in developmental. They're developed. So they're wrestling with people that are generally have much more experience than them. And of course, for the people in TNA to have the association, the connection to WWE is priceless, right? In fact, it probably helped us get our TV deal as well. It's the number one brand in professional wrestling by far. So to have a connection to that it just rubs off on us and makes us seem that much more legitimate. Um, and of course, they've now got they've Joe Hendry's there, Jordan Grace is there. I'm sure one day Leon Slater is going to be there. So it's good for our guys to be able to showcase their ability and then go there and make the big money.
Absolutely, make the big money. Yeah. Uh, we also saw the team TNA and team NXT matchup, and that was special as well. So, what would you say creatively? How much did TNA have a say in that storyline?
Yeah, no, I mean, so Tommy Dreamer is a big part of our creative process, and he worked for WWE for many years, so I think he's a perfect liaison connection between the two companies. Um, I'm not there for the creative process, but WWE is the big brother in this situation, either way. But the relationship has been awesome, man. It's really actually one of the best examples of a win-win that I've ever seen.
Absolutely, and we are seeing more exposure for TNA wrestlers on NXT. Even Leon Slater, as you rightly mentioned. Recently, we just saw that the Royal Rumble concluded, and want to talk about your Royal Rumble moment when you won it. And Alberto Del Rio, I don't believe how he came out of nowhere and just eliminated you. So that conviction on your face, everybody with you. Uh, how did that feel? And we thought for a moment he's actually pulled it off.
Yeah, everybody did. Everybody thought for a moment, and that's what it's all about. It's very rare that you can get that real, authentic swerve or trick. So the fact that we were able to give a real historical one where everybody believed it, that's the best. That's the best feeling because you'll never forget those feelings and those moments.
Yeah, I have heard that during the Royal Rumble match, the wrestlers suggest that maybe they can do this, they can do something like that. Did you come up with this, or was it a complete Vince decision?
No, that was written. That was written. So there's a frame, an outline that is pre-organized, and then you have a little bit of freedom as long as you stick to the 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 skeleton, of what
Yeah,
needs to be done. So anyway, that was given to me, and it was my job to execute.
yeah, and you executed very convincingly. Uh, that moment, there was no practice. I'm pretty sure because that was just I could that we could feel that you won it.
Yeah.
All right, and one more close call after the Royal Rumble. It was Elimination Chamber. So you come close one more time. Did you ever feel for a moment that, like it happened with your debut, uh, maybe Santino Marella is, going to get that push and uh, get into contention?
Yeah. So the elimination chamber, I believe, was. I'm trying to think of the year it was. Um, I had my neck surgery a couple years after that, right? So my neck was already starting to get bad, and it was a fun moment, when I listen to it back, I hear the audience and they were going crazy. At the time, you don't really realize how loud they are because you're focused kind of on your match a little bit. But when you look back, it was pretty awesome.
Absolutely. And for you, are there ever conversations that maybe, now it's time for me to switch up my role, become a much more serious wrestler, and go up for the world championship?
Um, yeah, I mean, of course, I always wanted, because the nature of the character is, a miracle moment can happen at any time. So I always thought that, one day a miracle can happen. Um, and I thought it was going to happen at some point, just randomly out of nowhere. The miracle happens, but then my neck just got worse and worse. So I had to get surgery.
Yeah. Speaking of the injuries, they bothered you quite a bit. Uh, which was the worst injury of your career? And, do you think these injuries put end to what could have been a great career for you?
Sorry, it got choppy there. I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, you mentioned injuries, and what was the worst injury of your career? And do you think that it was the injuries that actually uh, put full stops and put a lot of roadblocks in your way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Once I had my neck surgery, a month later, some of the screws were coming out, so they had to go in and do a second surgery. So the second surgery really, it was a tough one, because there was already scar tissue being formed. So then, I tried to come back for a couple years, and it wasn't getting strong enough. Since then, I've been straightening my neck and exercises, and I feel good, but it was definitely a lot longer than I thought it was going to be.
So, are there any issues or any injury that you're still dealing with after all these years?
My shoulder right now. I just hurt it in September, but it's almost back to normal. And of course, I have a bad lower back. My L4, L5. The disc is very, very thin, so that's an ongoing thing that I try and you know maintain. Um, but it's a priority for me. So I'm always stretching and hydrating and strengthening and doing stuff to try and get the most out of it.
Yeah, you're going to do all it takes to get the most out of this, but I'm pretty sure doctors must be telling you to slow down even now. So, did they ever tell you to slow down when you were in WWE or even now?
No, I'm never going to slow down.
All right, all right. So, moving on from injuries, uh, I want to talk about this particular moment from the 2008 Hall of Fame. The Rock roasting you pretty hard. Did you know these jokes were coming?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't know what he was going to say, but I knew he was going to call me out and say something. So that was really cool. That was like an acknowledgement, from one funny guy to another funny guy, and just saying, some people say passing the baton or whatever, but no, it was really cool.
Absolutely. It was cool. And like for a moment, the way Rock just lets it out, it feels sometimes you feel bad for the other person as well. For you, did you in the moment feel that, oh, he just went over the line there?
No,
Did
no,
you?
no, no. He's because backstage he's very respectful and he's very nice, and that's just his character.
Yeah, it is. It is. And your character, the speciality was comedy. Uh, a while back you mentioned Chavo Guerrero, Vicky Guerrero. That one incident comes to mind against Chavo when you're changing jerseys mid match. So that's something uh, that nobody had expected, but you delivered. So again,
What was
what
it? Which
this
one was it?
the one moment with Chavo that you had, you were with the jerseys.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
So that moment, did you and Chavo come up with it in on your own, or again this is
Oh,
creative?
that's the writers. The it's a big TV show, so you have many writers, producers, final drafts. It's a real TV show, so it has to go through the whole chain. It's something like that that's going to be on TV. I mean, you can contribute the idea, but ultimately everything has to get approved before it airs on TV.
Absolutely. Even comedy has to get approved. And
Yeah.
speaking of comedy, there are a few names in professional wrestling today that are doing a fantastic job. We talked about Mr. Iguana a while back, but our truth, the evergreen our truth, he's had some potion, do you think?
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. He doesn't age. It's crazy.
So what are your memories with the man himself?
Uh, we even rode together from time to time, but he is just so funny. Like just a regular conversation with him is funny. You'll be laughing, and man, he's a funny guy. I said the only way I'll come back and tag team in WWE only if I get to tag team with our Truth.
So our truth and Santino Marella, I think one more time it has to happen. Are you lobbying for it? Have you ever spoken to anybody in WWE again?
Oh, I know. I think if not really. I mean, in the future, maybe as a coach or producer or something like that. But I'm pretty happy at TNA right now.
All right, all right. Speaking of TNA, I want to put you in a spot here asking these questions, but I want to know the top five hardest workers in the room, according to you, in TNA right now, across both rosters, the male and the female roster.
Oh man, Ali is super hard worker. Um, when it comes to the ring, Macklin is incredible. And there's guys that think about it a lot. Like, Dolph Ziggler has been in great shape for like 20 years. Never, um, of course, Kazarian, like, you could tell when he's home, he's working so hard, not just at work, in the back as well. Um, and before, Jordan Grace was a super hard worker. But the girls we have now, man, like the Elegance brand, they put in so much effort behind the scenes for their outfits, and that effort goes a long way. I see the girls in the gym. I see who's training. The first one, Lei Ying Lee, like she's the first one in the gym all the time. She's a super hard worker. But everyone at that level is really a hard worker. They're very hungry. They want to be successful and make it they want to elevate the company to the next level. So you have to have a company full of super hard workers.
Absolutely, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of hard workers there. And in case of TNA, we've seen from the start, from the days when you had Awesome Kong and ODB, they always delivered. They were always different when it came to the knockouts, and it's continuing even today. Uh, Speaking of which, how do you think this knockouts division compares to all other women's divisions across the world? Because it is the strongest. It can compete with the ones at Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. We have some tremendous athletes and personalities. It's a really good mix, and they take it serious. They're like really good athletes. They're hard workers. They're respectful. They're on the road. They're doing a great job. Our knockouts division is incredible. I'm very proud of it. Oh, there.
Absolutely. And what you have done in WWE as Santino Marella, now you're in TNA in a different role. And it's refreshing to see, because you did not imagine that Santino can go on to become an authority figure. And I think that the word lines or the way you say it, how I think there's a something that you do to it. Lions, no? What do you do
What? Say it again.
when you use that word? Liaison. When you say that word, I am the liaison.
Oh, the no, my daughter was liaison. I'm uh I'm the director of authority. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you use that word in your Italian accent, it was completely different, and it was fun. Yeah. Uh, I want to talk about some missed opportunities. Do you think in your career there were moments when there were some missed opportunities, and would you want to you know pounce on one if you have it right now?
No, I can't really recall any missed opportunities. I think anything that I was given, I think I did my best. Missed opportunities from the company. There was times when, I mean, anyone can say I could have been pushed better or more, but I'm completely content with my career. And when I look back, it's just like the best memory ever.